Yo, man, I'm sweating. This is nice. I'd rather be hot than cold any day, though. I just don't like the cold. There's nothing like metaphorical about that. Listen, many of us were outraged and heartbroken when we heard of Stephon Clark's murder. And what about Willie McCoy? Shot 25 times while asleep in his car in Vallejo. And we hear about Dante Yarber and Taisha Miller and Cesar Cruz and so many. Every time we hear about another black or brown person, documented or undocumented, taken away from our community, it hurts. It hurts because many of us know it can be prevented. And we know no one will be held accountable. And worst of all, we know it can and probably will happen again. All we're asking them to do is let us live. Police violence is a pervasive disease, an epidemic plaguing California and much of the country. Who's next? Yet all too often, tragedy is used as an opportunity to blame the victims and increase police budgets in the name of public safety. And the overwhelming majority of that policing happens in low-income black and brown communities. Those police are not put into Beverly Hills and Palisades and the nice areas, right? They're put in our schools and in our streets in black and brown communities. The lack of accountability and leeway given to officers to use violent and deadly force, even when they have other opportunities and options, fundamentally makes us less safe. We must begin to challenge the notion that police officers necessarily equate safety. You go to Beverly Hills and in any of these nice places, and it's hard to find a police officer. You go to black and brown, low-income communities, and they're everywhere. You can find them everywhere, right? So if police equaled safety, then the hood would be the safest place to go. Right? If you want to be safe, go to the hood. Black and brown communities, our children, families, documented and undocumented, are consistently over-policed and criminalized. Yet it is these very same people who feel less safe in their own neighborhoods because they never know if a cell phone or a wallet or any other ordinary object will be mistaken for a gun. Or if they will be shot 25 times while they're taking a nap in their car. This happens far too often. It's not an isolated incident. It's not a bad apple problem, okay? Our community members, mostly our women, are left to deal with the burden of funeral and lawyer costs and trauma on top of the existing trauma that exists for everyday life in communities of color. All we are asking them to do is to let us live. AB 392 will increase our chance of saving lives, even as we fight for deeper change and investment in our health, economy, and education, the things that really keep us safe. That is what public safety is. There you go. Education, housing, healthcare, and jobs. That's the investments that we need. Our laws on police encounters with members of the public should be centered on the goal of resolving situations in a way that preserves life and provides an opportunity for accountability when an officer acts outside of these bounds. Let us be clear. The killing of unarmed people at the hands of police, misuse of force, and lack of accountability amount to state-sanctioned violence against communities of color, indigent people, poor people, and people living with mental illness. This is a black problem, This is a brown problem. This is an indigenous problem. It is an undocumented problem. This is a white problem. It affects all of us. If you don't believe me, go research how much of your tax dollars go to paying these families after their children and their loved ones are taken away from them, murdered by the very people who are supposed to protect them. AB 392 is one of many steps we must collectively take to address this violence. Our liberation is inextricably linked together. Inaction is not an option. This is gun control, taking guns out of our streets. A lot of the time we talk about gun control and we're talking about taking guns out of our streets. One of those is police guns. We don't need so many police in our streets shooting our children and our family members and our loved ones. This is a gun control issue. This is separation of families. This is a health issue. It's an epidemic. This is a mental health issue. This is a march for our lives. All we are demanding is that they let us live. In the spirit of Black Lives Matter and the author of this chant, Assata Shakur, repeat after me. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. It is our duty to win. We must love and protect one another. We must love and protect one another. We have nothing to lose but our chains. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Now let them hear it. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. It is our duty to win. We must love and protect one another. We must love and protect one another. We have nothing to lose but our chains. We have nothing to lose but our chains.